Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Single in the City where kings meet queens. I am Nicole Everett.
I'm Joketra Horn.
Nick Raines, dating coach.
And we are the love team of Single in the City. So we welcome you to our live broadcast tonight. Yes, we have been doing Single in the City for about a year, a little over a year now. And it's all about making love connections and having healthy relationships.
Right.
So we are super excited to be here with you. We were here about 2 weeks ago with Uncle Rom Wills, the author of what's the name of the book, Nick?
Man, you put me on the spot, Nicole.
It's Nice Guys and Players.
Nice guys and players.
Yes, Nice
There
Guys
you go.
Players.
Nice guys and players.
Yes. So we have been doing some review of that book prior to Uncle Rom coming on and had a great discussion with him. So we definitely appreciate him being on here. But, this is part of what we do. We try to bring some enlightenment about the dating world and relationships and men understanding about women and women understanding about men. And we try to have a little fun with it. So
Yes.
we are, again, excited to be here tonight. So I see Mr. Marcus Boston on here giving us a good evening. Greetings, sir.
Hey,
what's up?
Marcus. And you know that this was really supposed to be our time to bring Marcus on to discuss his book, which I'm reading, called I'm Burning.
Nice. Well, Marcus, we look forward to having you on.
And you know that.
soon. So if you all would, before we bring on our guest tonight, if you would give us a shout out in the comments, like and share. Tell folks, I know the first debate of the presidential election is going on tonight at 9, and you can sneak over there and watch a little bit of that. But if you get tired of that, come on back over here with us.
Look, we might be funnier tonight or more entertaining tonight. We know that's going to be a show, a clown show.
Right. Hey, so thank you for being on here. We appreciate it. So this is an interactive live. We definitely want to hear from you, so please comment. This is a hot topic tonight. Our guest is fiery hot. So
yeah, look, that's why we got the candles burning, because which way do I go? You see the candle?
Yes. It's spicy. So we are super excited to have Dr. Monica, the author of Pure Pleasure, and a collection of erotic interludes. So welcome, Dr. Monica.
Woo! Yay, Dr. Monica! I love your hair. You're looking all pretty and jazzy.
It's crazy. It needs trimming. And with this COVID, I haven't gone anywhere. So just forgive me. I am delighted to be here. Thank you, team, for inviting me. I'm hoping that we have a fun conversation and that folks will participate. Absolutely. Just to let you know a little about myself, I'm a New Yorker born and raised. I've been in Tallahassee since 2001. And I've been mostly in education and clinical social work most of my adult life. And so I have a doctorate in education. I have a master's in clinical social work and a master of arts in teaching. I started writing erotica probably in the 90s. I had come to the realization that even with my dearest friends, we never really talked about sex. We never really said the words. And I felt that we were missing something. We weren't getting a chance to learn from each other. And so I started writing. And, I think it's the kind of topic that people sometimes embrace it right away. And other times it's, woo, let me chill with this a little bit and see what's going to happen. And I guess sometimes it just is not what people like. For me, I love hearing the words. I love saying the words. And so for me, it's about communication. And so hopefully we can share some things tonight that are in the venue of dating, but there's a beginning and a middle, and who knows where else it goes. And so dating has lots of nuances to it, and hopefully we can have some fun with some ideas.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. So, just for our viewing audience, this is a mature conversation, but we will keep it respectful. But we are going to be talking about sexual and sensual topics that will hopefully help to encourage healthy relationships and get the conversations going while you're dating, right? Because it's very important that folks communicate their expectations, what they like, what they don't like. And this is kind of what Dr. Monica is gonna share with us tonight in her conversation. So again, we look forward to your comments and questions. Again, it's interactive as always. So please do chime in. I see your finger, Jokeisha. What you got for me?
Okay, I was trying to put up the church finger. And that's so appropriate because as you were saying that, my thoughts are to our viewers, because we know we have viewers of all, I guess religions, beliefs. And can I just say that out of respect, this is not something that we're saying, okay, if you're not married, this is what you need to be doing. Let's just make that clear. We're just providing information and allowing Dr. Monica to share, because I think she'll talk about the whole couple side. But I don't want anyone to think that the Single in the City, where kings meet queens, love team is saying that we're condoning, sex before marriage, any of those things. We're just having the conversation.
Okay. So prior to Nick, did you want to say something?
No, I just echo exactly what Jakeitra said. Thank you for the clarification, Jakeitra. And we look forward to hearing what Dr. Monica is going to say tonight.
All right. So prior to inviting Dr. Monica on, we had a conversation with her about what we could potentially talk about. So Dr. Monica has a podcast that she does, and I had heard an episode where she talked about Tantra, and Ram actually alluded to Tantra about 2 weeks ago when he was on the show. So I thought, wow, how timely is this? That he would have just mentioned it, and this was something that she talked about on the podcast. So, Dr. Monica, what the heck is Tantra?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. Tantra is Indian in origin, and it is a philosophy that goes back centuries. I mean, it's been around for a very long time, and I think it could have a bearing on people in the beginning of a relationship. In the beginning of a relationship, you're getting to know one another. You're sharing ideas. You're trying to find out what you like, what you don't like, who's into sports, who's into music, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Tantra isn't primarily about sex. Sex is not the goal for Tantra. Tantra's goal is the illumination of the self. Yes, that's the right spelling. Tantra. Very good. Tantra is about respect. It is about appreciation, the male and the female. It is an opportunity to explore oneself and share with one's partner if that's where you are. But again, we all know you can't love somebody else until you can love yourself. And so one of the things that I talk about is that the first time you do Tantra, and I'd like to really get into that a bit, the first time you do it, I would suggest yourself. Now, one of the things about Tantra is the highlighting of sensuality. So you're not in your pajamas, you're not on your regular sheets. It's in a special place in your home or in a park, wherever you're comfortable, where you use fabrics. So we usually talk about silky fabrics, soft fabrics. We talk about music that's relaxing. Maybe you burn candles. um, something that makes the environment different, makes the environment sensual. And please ask me if you want me to get into more about what sensual is. But if you think about sensual senses, so it's going to be sights, sounds, tastes, maybe, things like that. Smells, of course. And
Okay.
so what you do is you get into this special place and begin to get comfortable with yourself and take off your clothing as you feel comfortable to do it. And then you get acquainted with yourself in a slow, get to know you process. So if you think about our bodies, peaks and valleys and bumps and scars and maybe a rash here and there or hair, we have protrusions, we have all kinds of things on our bodies. And our skin is not the same from head to toe. The skin has fabric, just like your clothes, different feels to it. And so if you're taking time to get to know what your hair feels like, what the face, and the face could be warm. Sometimes you get down by your belly. Your belly is often warm, but then your arms, and you just keep going down. No, we're not talking about sex. We're talking about getting to know,
Wait.
appreciate,
Wait.
sensing yourself.
Romancing, but romancing is not necessarily sex, is it?
But the idea, we didn't get to the sex part. This
But wait,
is,
I'm just saying, is romance sex though?
sorry,
Do you define romance as sex?
romance is looking to get to it.
Okay, I don't necessarily define romance
And-
as sex. So that's
And
why
that's fine.
we need to have a clarification. We need to make sure we
Sure.
talk the same language. So
Well, and when you think about the romance novels, when you think about the romance in the Elizabethan eras, I mean, a lot went on under those big skirts. It was just not spoken. It wasn't overt.
All right. Well,
Okay.
teach us, because I don't know. Look, when I think of romance, I guess I'm thinking of maybe whining and dining, and not necessarily getting to a sexual part. But I see romancing more as an intimacy, if you will.
Okay. But when you think about whining and dining, and I'm not saying, I'm not saying romancing isn't in this, but the whole idea is getting to know yourself, the feelings of the different parts, the skin, all of that. Okay. So then, that's sort of like the front part. And then, we often don't pay attention to the opposite side, like your ankles and the soles of your feet, and behind your legs and your thighs, going up to your bottom, the whole thing. And then the parts of the back that you can reach. I have short arms, so I don't do well in that category. But, it's just that here I am, and now I know me. And if you're involved with someone, that enhances, because then you begin to think about trust. Because if you're going to sit or lie nude with someone, there's an element of trust there, because you're now going to get to know that person. Is there a question?
I have a question. When you had mentioned that, and I saw that Dr. Robinson had put up that we need to get to know our body. Why do you think it is that we are not more in tune or want to know, explore parts of our body so that we can be more comfortable with our bodies? Why do you think that is?
Okay, let's go back to early childhood.
Okay.
When babies are
bring it back.
When you see babies playing with themselves, what do most moms or dads do?
Stop it.
They stop them.
Stop them. You move your hand. Don't do that. We get a message very early that you're not supposed to touch yourself in certain places. And we internalize that oftentimes. And so, and because we have this image of what you're supposed to look like, and most of us don't, there are nuances of it. We tend to stay away from those parts of us. But if, again, I'm generally speaking in terms of people in a consenting adult relationship, understanding your body, what feels good to you, and hopefully we'll talk about that later. What feels good to you? What stimulates you? You need to know that, because that's how you're going to help your partner understand what you need. And because you're hoping that you're going to be investigating with your partner, you will learn what he or she needs. Because it's a very mutual situation that we're talking about. But please understand, it begins with yourself. If you don't love you, like you, feel comfortable with you, how do you then offer yourself in a relationship? And your body is part of what you're offering. I hope that answers.
It does. Janelle
Yes.
asked that very question. She asked, how can someone else get to know your body if you don't know your body?
Exactly.
I agree with you, Dr. Monica. Our sexuality, especially in society, is really suppressed. And so,
Yes.
being that it is suppressed, we begin to suppress it ourselves and kind of put it in the back of our mind, and we don't really go back to it and retrieve it again. And so it's just suppressed, and it stays that way. You see, until somebody actually brings it out.
Well, and I think the other thing, and someone mentioned about religion and the church, there are rules. We always have to have order in society. And so there are rules. We understand that. But we also know as adults, there are things that we do. And so if you're going to do, my goal is to help people do things in such a way that's helpful for them, that's good for them, that's enjoyable for them, that promotes sensuality and sexuality between consenting adults. And I think, it goes back to early times when parents who themselves came up the same way, thinking, no, we don't touch that. And we keep that. And so part of why I do this, the main reason that I write erotica, is because I'm trying to help stimulate the conversation to let people know good, wonderful, religious, God-fearing, wonderful people have sex. And I want to make sure everybody who does have sex enjoys it.
Well, I think that in the Bible, we are allowed to have it, and it is good,
Mm-hmm.
Say amen.
Amen.
Amen. Right?
I think so.
But we probably could be having much better sex if we are more in tune with our bodies and we're not afraid to, because I don't know how it could be our body, but when we take a shower or whatever, we're afraid, if there's nobody in the house with us, to stand in the front of the mirror and look around and say, oh girl, what's going on with that? Mm-hmm. So that's surprising to hear that.
I would like to say also, I agree, Jaketra, and what you're saying, Dr. Monica, is that especially in the church, you're taught to suppress it, the sexuality, right? Mm-hmm. But then you get married, and then the Bible talks about the bedroom being undefiled, which we talked about before. So that means go all out. But how do I even know how to go all out? I don't know what go all out means. I don't even know my own body. So I don't even know how to tell someone how to please me because I don't know how to please myself. So That's when it comes to a learning curve. And so it takes a little time, but if you have someone that's already there sexually, they may not be as patient. So, and sex is a big part of marriage that can also cause divorce sometimes. So that's a big issue.
Which is why Tantra comes into play. Tantra is slow. Tantra is about patience. It's about a situation, let's look at it this way. You're not lying down, you're sitting up. You are two nude people sitting in front of each other, focusing on your eyes. And you'll see things you never saw before. And as you go down the face, I didn't know. My daughter said to me the other day, I didn't know you had that bump. Well, because she's looking, life is going on and she's not looking. And so with a relationship with a couple, to get that level of looking, because you sort of promise each other, we're going to try this. Okay? We're going to sit and look. We're not going to touch each other. We're just going to look today, or we're just going to look this hour. And then if that's good, then maybe we could start touching. But it's not, it's not stimulating touching. It's discovery touching. Very, very different. And if you're both in the same frame of mind, maybe, I'm not going to lie, there could be a little building in the belly. You feel that pressure, but you're saying to yourself, this isn't about that. And again, you're going to have the music, you're going to have these silky or soft or whatever you particularly like. You're going to have the fragrances. And I'm into aromatherapy, so I always mix the right kinds of fragrances to help me do what I want to do. And so you say that this is how you get to know each other, so that when you get to that place, which is where you can eventually get to with Tantra. And if you've ever read the Kama Sutra, it's the same thing. There are these beautiful pictures that show you the engagement. Tantra has a very spiritual quality to it. We don't generally think about sex. Most people don't think about sex in a spiritual way. But if you and this person are connected in such a way, you understand each other, you've explored one another in a very slow fashion, what can come if you do it the Tantra way, which is not bit bam, thank you, ma'am. It's not hurry up, get to the good stuff. It's taking time. It's learning how to breathe so that you can slow things down and it'll last longer. When I hear people talk about, oh, girl, all night long, really?
You done hit the Lionel Richie on him all night long.
He's dancing. The whole idea, if that's what you want, and it's possible, if that's what you want, then you've got to build your mind, you've got to build your body, you've got to practice breathing and pacing, and maybe eating some grapes every now and then, or some cheese, or sipping some wine, or whatever, because part of that is all the nurturing that's going to lead to this very spiritual experience. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I do think that we have been done a disservice in this area, because that's just not a conversation that is had often enough. Mm-hmm. And at church, in our homes, we shy away from all of that. And I think that that's what leads to so much, promiscuity, so many issues, as Nick said, when it comes to marriages and relationships as a whole. So
right.
That is so true.
And see, the other thing is we label women. We label women the mother of my children, or we label women as a nice young lady, or we label women very negatively. And a man says, hey, I can't get this at home. I'm going to go, my goal is to help the couple talk to each other about what it is he or she or whatever wants, so that those things can be provided at home. Mm-hmm. If those things are provided at home, if your conversations about what pleases you can be mutual and candid, Why you got to go some? I mean,
That
let's face it.
that's
Human nature
mind blowing. Look, that's like blow the roof off.
well, but it's true. Human nature
Yeah.
being what it is, there's going to be people who got to do. But I'm saying, hey, we're going to learn this together, and we're going to try things. We're going to be on a journey together. And if that's the openness in your relationship, then the sky's the limit.
Okay.
Right.
So Janelle had a question. She said, "Are you familiar with Oming? OMING?"
Does she mean the daily Om that comes on? They do meditations and things like that. Is that what you mean,
I'm not
Ms.
sure.
Robinson?
Yeah.
Dr. Robinson, you got to break that down for us, so we can know.
Give us a little more clarity, Janelle. All right.
So is that the full essence of Tantra?
Oh no. It has so many stages to it. And as I said, the people generations ago who were studying Tantra studied for years to learn the discipline of the body, the discipline of the mind. There was no hurry, and so for me, in today's fast-paced world, we're rushing all the time, and we're working and we're tired. And so with Tantra, if you set aside a special place, a special time, then even if you just sit together and say, this is our little place, our little corner of wherever we are, and it's going to be about us, and we're just going to look at each other, or we're just going to talk, or we're going to touch, or we're going to cuddle, or whatever it is we're going to do, but it's just us in this very special place. But there's a whole lot more. But I think for this purpose, to talk about getting to know oneself and the intimacy that's involved, getting to know about the breathing and the patience that's involved, getting to know that in the Tantra philosophy, sexual intimacy leads to something spiritual.
Okay, I got to. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I just had a thought because I love what you're saying, and I want to ask Nick and Nicole. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just thinking, if I have a brother and we're dating, and I say to him, I try to introduce him to Tantra, and I say to him, we're just going to sit and we're just going to look at one another, and Nick and Nicole, I mean, how well does that go over with someone? I mean, I guess what is a good way to start introducing this to someone, and when you're in a relationship with them, and help them understand the importance of it, because it's only going to heighten your experience with them. That's how I feel. If they're comfortable with themselves, you're comfortable with yourself, it's going to make the experience all the more pleasing and pleasurable.
I love you for this question. I love you for this question.
Love me.
Because when you think about all of the things that talk about in a new relationship, foods, music, sports, all kinds of, where do you go to church? I mean, we ask so many things. Where are your people from? All of those things, and the answers are important. And part of what we also talk about with double entendres and some little jokes here and there, we get to talking about sex. We do it around the way, but that's what we're getting at. And so one of the things that can be said is, I heard about, read about, studied about, however you got it about this. And I'm just wondering if that's something that you would be interested in, because I'm feeling like you and I have something special going on here. And I really want to get to know you better. And so if we could spend some quiet time together, just looking at each other. Now, remember, we're just looking. I didn't say naked. I just said looking at each other. Mm-hmm. If that looking at each other experience if he or she appreciates it, that's a first step. You're going to be the teacher in a sense in that relationship if you're the one that knows something about it and it's interesting to you, important to you. But this isn't something that you just say, okay, let's go take off our clothes and look at each other. Let's look at each other's face, and we're going to just. And why would we want to do that? Well, I just think it's a good way to start, to really see one another. The color of your eyes. You ever see people can't tell the color of somebody's eyes because they haven't really looked.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have a mole on her? I don't know, because you haven't looked. And so that's a start. I'm not saying this is for everybody because you could get laughed off the street. But
True.
if you build it, and if the person cares.
Okay.
If the person cares.
Yeah. I mean, that's really deep. And I don't think we do take that time to get to know our mates on that level. So I think what you are describing would be especially helpful in, married, committed relationships. But I think even when you're dating, maybe some aspect of this might be something you want to explore. Especially if you're thinking about moving forward to talk
Dating
about
has stages. Yeah.
spending your life together with someone.
Keitra, and I would say, coming from a man perspective, I think if you actually, it's first of all, it's built off on your foundation. If you got a solid foundation where it's open, you got a bunch of openness, and you guys have been disclosing a lot, and it's just like the back and forth, and you guys are very open and candid with each other. I think a way you can present it to a man is that, you know what, I want to kind of take the intimacy up a level. Let's take it up a notch. So I got some that I hope you'd be willing to try. And so guys like, oh, okay, you take it up a notch. Okay, so he definitely may be interested in that, but I think it's all about how you preface it, all about how you deliver it.
I think that's true. And as long as his understanding is that this has nothing to do with performance,
right.
This has to do with a deeper appreciation for one another and taking the sense of intimacy. It's the intimacy that's going to another level, because oftentimes ego gets in the way. What you mean? What? You don't like what I do? That's not what we're talking about here. We're not. Okay.
Good, intimacy, good. Like I said, take the intimacy up another level.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not trying to tear them down. You're trying to build up the relationship.
So
trying to enhance it.
Right.
Yeah. So Dr. Janelle did come back. She kind of gave a long response, but OM is orgasmic meditation, and it's a mindfulness practice originating in the Buddhist tradition, which has to do with clitoral stimulation and that sort of thing that the man does to the woman, not in a penetration standpoint, but she there's a lot of comments here, but she mentions it that this is mentioned in a book called Slow Sex, and it's designed to help the woman eventually have a better orgasm, but it isn't sex. And this particular book that she's referencing highlights the man and woman using this to help the woman find spots that please her without penetration. And she's just talking about how it's an interesting concept, and it's almost like a teaching technique, because after it occurs, after the OM takes place, the couple then discusses the experience. So that's what she was referencing when she asked about OM.
Okay, and I think it's a similar kind of working philosophy. It's just like I often talk to women about doing their Kegels. It's this strengthening of, you strengthen the muscles, and you can do that sitting in your car. You can do it, walking around your house. It's another way to say, I'm in charge. I'm feeling me. And so I don't know
So we
if
can be
we're going
doing
to.
it right now.
Yes,
You could be doing it well, and one of the reasons I thought of it was because I'm sitting here and I thought, okay, here's time. I don't, I could do it, and it's also part of, again, if you're going to get to know yourself, one of the ways to know yourself is to pleasure yourself.
Mhm.
And in pleasuring yourself, you find your spots.
Mhm.
And knowing your spots helps you to help your partner know your spots.
Yes. So that's a great segue to the topic of self pleasure. So, I mean, really, the question was the importance of it, but I think you have expressed it. The importance of it is for yourself, but also for your partner, so you can, relate to them what what pleases you, what desires you have as it relates to that. So, is there
But I
anything else?
think getting back to the earlier thought about this as dating,
Hmm.
for people who are dating and maybe not ready to move into a sexually active situation, pleasing yourself is one of the ways that you can, relieve stress, feel good, take away a headache, those kinds of things, without having to jump into a sexual relationship in order to get those things. So, I mean, I think we sometimes tend to think that men are the ones that do the masturbating, but women can masturbate as well. And it can be very healthy and helpful and pleasurable.
Hmm.
Well, I think during the COVID-19, there's probably been a whole lot of that going on.
There probably
That's
has.
Yes,
speculation, pure
but
speculation.
but again, I would say if people give themselves permission, if they don't stigmatize it, if they accept it as something that's normal and natural and healthy and positive, go for it. But I think sometimes we get these messages that say this is not nice. This is not something you're supposed to do.
Right.
But it's very healthy and can be, again, an educational tool for when you do get to that place of intimacy with another person. You already know those spots that talk to you.
Hmm.
And that's
Yep.
important. That's
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. All right. So let's transition because we've kind of talked about the self pleasure piece, but let's transition to the topic of sexting. Sexting. All right. So we
Well,
have chatted. Hold on, Dr. Monica. We have chatted about
mhm,
sex on the show before, but I think when we spoke about it, we only talked about it from the standpoint of sending pictures. Sending pictures of body parts or a nude picture of the person, and a number of people kind of chimed in and were like, "Oh no, I don't do that, or I can't do that, or what have you."
mhm.
But in talking to you about it, Dr. Monica, you expressed sexting from the standpoint of words being used
Yes,
to communicate
yes.
via text message to someone that you are dating or in a relationship with. So let's
Mhm.
delve into that.
Thank you. I I wouldn't espouse sending pictures. They go into the universe and they stay there forever. That wouldn't be something that I would feel comfortable to support. But words, to me, in a beginning relationship, you could say something like, "I'm really looking forward to seeing you again," in the middle of the day. Or you had a really good conversation and you text about the really good conversation. As the relationship moves on, you can then put ideas in the person's head. I've had a really rough day. I'm really looking forward to you giving me a massage. My neck is killing me. And you've put in the person's head from the early part of the day, I really want you to massage me. So he or she is thinking about that. maybe picks up some massage oil on the way home or buys some candles. You've given an idea to somebody. As the relationship matures, you can then get into using the words to talk about what you're hoping tonight will bring. So, for example, if let's say if you have a tub that's big enough, you might say, how about a bubble bath tonight? Or let's shower together. But what you're doing is you're putting the thought in the head so that when you get together, there's been this stimulating conversation that helps. Now, for me, I often say for people who don't live together, for people who are in very long distance relationships, this is a way to stay connected. This is a way to help the other person know, particularly if you can do it daytime hours, or if they work nights, you do it during the nighttime, for them to know you're thinking about them. I don't use Harlequin romance novel words because my goal is to help people feel comfortable. I don't say go down south or up north, or my thing. I'm sorry. I'm fully embracing the words because, as I had said earlier, I love the sound of the words. And so for me, what I want is to help other people. Somebody said that my language was raw, and I don't say it's raw. I say it's earthy. I say it's real. I say it's what people say oftentimes behind closed doors. I'm not saying you need to sit in a cafe and talk out loud about this, but I think when you're with your person,
this is the way to communicate, right?
Yeah.
When you're with your person. So, I think what you're saying really is how we plant those seeds and even water those seeds throughout the day.
Yes,
by
exactly.
sharing a sweet something via text,
Yes.
or even a audio text. Like maybe you might not be able to call and say whatever it is, but you can, you know, come up and you can, say something and then send it as a message that they can replay. So, and
I
you might
think,
say,
go ahead.
go ahead.
I think it's what I said from the beginning. You're in a relationship with trust.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think pictures are a good idea because it's so intimate. I think if you're in a relationship and you break up and the person is evil and they want to share words that you've said, that's not the same as sharing your person, your physical, visual self. I think those are two very different things. I would say in a new dating relationship, you talk about the things you're going to do. You talk about looking for, maybe we could go to a movie, or have you thought about going to, and you keep it light because it's new. And let's face it, if you're texting somebody stuff like that and they're not texting you back, what is that? I mean, and is it, I'll get fired if they see me on my phone? I mean, those are things you need to find out. And so that's another way of getting to know.
So
When
you're
a man
saying
says,
that
yeah, she's
so
good.
sexting isn't necessarily about sex. Could possibly be a buildup to something that could be more sensual. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Because part of what, and again, I may be wrong, but for me, dating is getting to know. You date somebody because you think there's something there. If you think there's something there, then you're on a journey. So this hi, how are you kind of thing probably doesn't last very long. But it's a start. It lets the person know you're a communicator. And it lets you find out if that person is a communicator.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
And then as the relationship develops, no.
we got a lot of funny comments here. A lot of people just
Yeah. Well, as the relationship develops, the words that you use change and they get more erotic, they get more sexual, sensual, those kinds of things. And it can be fun.
So I think, the creativity, and I think Ozzy was one of the ones that said, be poetic in terms of painting a picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Use those words to, set the mood, set the atmosphere, paint a picture
Absolutely.
of
Mm-hmm.
what you hope to do with this special person, later
Right.
on, whether that's you all are going somewhere or doing something at home or whatever the case may be. That helps
Mm-hmm.
with the excitement. Wouldn't you agree, Nick?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, anything else you want to say about sexting?
I think the most important thing is trust. And if you and the person have a relationship built on trust, then as long as you're not using your business phone, you can try how you feel to say again. I mean, that's an important thing. You don't want to be on your business phone. You don't want to be on something that they can say, oh, no, that's ours. We can look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is an adult conversation. I'm not trying to get away from that. This is an adult conversation that you're going to have to let somebody know, I can't wait to get in the tub with you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's an invitation. You don't have to say anything else. I can't wait to get in the tub with you tonight. That says a whole lot.
Because that means you already know what's going down. You're going to get your back washed.
I'm going to leave
Among
that
some
alone.
other things.
Janelle talks about a relationship she had with a preacher, and they used to sex each other using scriptures. It was totally inappropriate. Said sometimes like this, his legs are like pillars of marble set upon sockets of fine gold. Totally inappropriate. My goodness. All right.
Okay.
So this is an example of something I would text him. All right. So Marcus said, yes, it does. So like, I think he was replying to it's setting the mood.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those who don't get a chance to put the mood to reality,
Mm-hmm.
it does some other things for a person from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it allows you to begin to feel those things about the other person. And maybe that becomes, you masturbate or you could talk on the phone to someone when you're masturbating and he or she is masturbating.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. You are, and you talk to each other then. Because let's say, Chicago and Florida, or, Europe and Louisiana. Sometimes it just can't be, but it can be what you can make it.
So some of that is fantasy, kind
Oh,
of.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I mean, so much about sex is fantasy. Because what do you want? You want this special explosion, everybody wants to come, and you have fantasies about coming together and you have all these things. Of course, fantasy feeds all of this. It's fabulous. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you did the come.
Well, do you know women can ejaculate?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to tell us, aren't you?
I'm telling you. Do you know women can ejaculate?
I don't know if I knew from that term, but maybe not ejaculation used from a woman's point of view.
Just like,
go ahead.
You sure? Just like a man, it's a projectile. A woman can have the same.
Oh, okay. Well, the definition that I've heard is squirt. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Squirt, you know.
Yes. Yes, I
Yes.
did know that. I do
Yeah.
know
And
that to be true.
yeah. Good.
Hmm. A
Okay.
lot of women say that they don't experience it though.
Well, they sometimes what I in the work that I've done, there's a lot of wetness going on, and so they don't always know. But part of the, I would say again, the Tantra experience is to see as this is building and we're talking and we're exploring, we're sharing, you can isolate.
I'm sorry, I'm dying off of these comments.
Oh, you isolate who's doing what.
Did she say squirt was urine? You Pindo, really?
No,
Dr.
no,
Monica, don't pay you Pindo any mind. She's just
It's all right.
she just saying that. She
No.
know that
We're
that's right.
having fun. We're having fun. We're discussing. It's all good. It's
Well,
all good.
you made a comment, not from what you Pindo said about the she thought squirting was urine, but in terms of an orgasm,
Yes.
Can you touch on, because I do hear a lot of women that say that they don't know or they've never really had a good orgasm, or they don't know if they've had one. Can you touch on that for a little bit, please?
Love to. One of the things that when they teach us about sex, they talk about a penis going into a vagina, but they don't really give us detail. And so for many women, they grow up thinking, they become adult women, and they think that's all that there is. But for many women, without clitoral stimulation, there is no orgasm. That the penile, Monica, the penetration isn't sufficient. That they find like, oh, he's done, and I've got this twitching. What's twitching? Well, 9 times out of 10, it's your little man, it's that clitoris that's twitching. And nobody paid attention to it. And so unless in the penetration there's
And in the boat.
stimulation, then it doesn't happen for a lot of people. An orgasm is the same. A climax is a word that connotes the event, but the orgasm is what your body is building to, getting to, and then responding to. It's that tension that builds, and then there's that release of tension. And what happens is oftentimes a woman is left with tension. She doesn't know what to do with. She doesn't know why she's quiet, why she's not at peace. But it's because she didn't know that maybe what she needed, in addition to the penetration, was the stimulation of her clit. And so if she's masturbating and understanding herself, she may realize, you know what? I need you to do this too. Because that's not enough. And that's a conversation between two people who care about each other. Yes, ma'am.
So can a man tell when a woman has climaxed?
Yes, because the vaginal muscles are doing wonderful things.
So that means that women can't fake it. We can't fake it and tell a man that we have.
Well, again, if he knows what he's supposed to be feeling, then he might guess. But oftentimes, a man has been taught, if I do this right, this gonna happen. He's not taught that this is what an orgasm is supposed to feel.
Listen, Dr. Monica, you setting the captives free tonight. I don't care what nobody say. Listen, set them free, Dr. Monica. Set them free.
But the thing is, the whole idea, oh, this is so joyous for me, because part of it is to say there is real joy that can be had. Somebody was asking about toys. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but toys are.
She wants to know, do you think that if a woman uses toys too much, that it desensitizes her to sex with a man when the opportunity presents?
There ain't nothing like a man.
Amen.
No, ma'am.
Amen. Because I don't know how.
Let me go.
You're right. There's nothing, because the machine, that's not the same as the feel, the taste, the touch. It's just not. I don't know what happened. What happened?
I don't know.
I think I hit my my mouse.
Oh, okay.
And let me
Okay.
see.
So what Marcus is saying is, so if he's focused on pleasing her, he would know or should know if she really orgasmed or not. So that, I guess he's answering my question about, can we fake it?
I think that, we've all seen, let's see, we've all seen enough Hollywood, the wonderful piece that, I can't think of her name, she did with Harry Met Sally.
Ryan.
It's often about,
Tantra.
What happened?
Oh, you got a little mix going on there, Dr. Monica. You're a little DJ in the building.
Hold on. Wait a minute. She's on here twice. So we got
a little TikTok dance. I'm with that.
We got an issue. Hold on.
Well, she's on mute.
I had to, because there's an echo picking up, but she's down here as well. She's on here twice. Okay. Dr. Monica, try to talk again.
hello.
Yeah. Shucks. Okay, let me remove that one.
So Nick, you gonna take over with what Dr. Monica was talking about? You gonna take over for the women to make it? Y'all know.
Dr. Monica, so go out and come back in, okay? Because you're appearing twice, and that's what's causing the echo.
Right. Okay, Nick, tell us. Can you tell us? We want to hear a male perspective.
No, I am listening. I am a student tonight.
Okay. All right, Dr. Monica.
Oh, now you're a student, huh?
Dr. Monica.
Yes.
I may be an advanced student, but I'm still a student.
Okay. Talk to me.
Well, I can hear you. I just can't see you.
Oh, okay. Well, we see you fine.
Okay, well then let's keep going.
Okay. All right.
I'll be guided by what you.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, I kind of lost the train of thought on that one, but because I was trying to.
Is this it? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we see you and hear you perfectly.
Okay, but now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Sorry
about that technical difficulty, y'all. All right. So where were we?
We were talking about if men can tell if we orgasm or not.
Okay.
I think that for the average guy, if he doesn't really know the things we're talking about, she will stiffen, she will make noises, she will want him to believe that she is coming. It's just, we know she really isn't. And that's the reason that her nerve endings are still straight up and tall. It's the reason why the tension is still low in her belly. It's the reason why she doesn't feel that wonderful relaxation, that wonderful release that he feels. So if men know that there's something not quite right, he could then have a conversation. Baby girl, something's not right. What else you need me to do? And because she doesn't know what to tell him to do.
You Pendo. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
Okay.
comments, I tell
I'm
you.
sorry. Okay, get the comments because
So I think that part of the response that Marcus gave in terms of him being focused on her will alert him that she is, so there won't be any faking that can take place.
If he's
well,
really focusing on her and knows, he has to know what her orgasm should feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
would
the
love.
other piece, if I could just finish, the other piece is that women are multi-orgasmic. So she may have more coming if he can help her get there. But there are times when if you have had a good orgasm, you then can have several others without him.
That's true.
Okay.
I guess it would be. I mean, I know we can't poll the audience, but I would wonder if a guy would be willing to be honest that if a female said to him, after he said, "Baby girl, what else do I need to do to get you there?" How would that make him feel? As a man, I mean, I'm saying someone that hasn't gone through the tantra and all of that. But I'm just wondering how a guy would feel if a female said that to him, I just didn't get there. You didn't help me get there. So if some guys could chime in, I would love to know. Or maybe Nick, you could tell us how that might make some guys feel.
I can't speak from experience, so I guess I'll just let the other guys chime in.
So maybe Jokeisha, are you wanted to also know would they be willing to help get her there?
Yeah, I mean, if someone is being open, if he's asking the question, then that means that he's open to hearing, what else needs to be done, But I'm just thinking that might hurt a male ego because I think a lot of times women leave the experience and then they go out and say, "Oh God, I got cheated," or "He was so horrible," it just was not a good experience. And a lot of men aren't willing to to say or ask, what else can I do to help you get there?
But it's a common situation that goes both ways. Sometimes, for whatever reason, a man isn't going to ejaculate. And so the woman also has to be in a situation where she's willing to say, "What else you need? What do you think? What do you need?" I mean, it's a mutual kind of satisfying situation that both people have. And I think, as you get older, because that's the other piece of what I want to do. A lot of people who are older are also in the dating arena. And so you have all of the aging issues, you got knees and backs and this and that. And so as you talk to each other, you learn that you can work around the aches and pains, if you will, or the structural issues because you care about each other. You want to continue to satisfy one another. I mean, my whole thing is whether you're 18 to 25 or 70 to 95 or 100, if this is what you want to do, you can do it. It's about the relationship.
So,
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, no, Dr. Robinson had a question. I won't forget my question.
So she asked, how important is a man's size in helping a woman get there? Or does it even matter?
No, it doesn't matter. You could have a rod and not know what to do with it. So it's more important for him. It's more important for him to have skills to know what he's doing. And part of knowing what he's doing is understanding his body and her body. If
There you
that's the
go.
case, that's the case. You
Okay. Thank
joy,
you.
joy, joy.
So my question was, when you talked about, the reciprocity, that it goes both ways. So in your studies, have you seen or heard, and because I'm a female, I want to know, what are some of the reasons why men have a hard time ejaculating if they're engaged, with sex? What are the reasons that have been given?
Well, I
Or
think,
coming.
I mean,
I'm sorry, coming.
well, coming and ejaculating, and then you get into the whether or not they can sustain an erection. I mean, all of those things come together. So sometimes I used to tell men, I was the manager of psychological services at Southeastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority. And the guys would come in and say, I don't know, I just can't keep it up. And then you talk to them about their hypertensive medication or their diabetes medication. And so what I would say is you need to go back to your doctor and say, listen, I got to do something about this high blood pressure, but this medicine is keeping me from doing what I got to do. And you work with your doctor to work on what the medication is. Some have side effects, some don't. The dosage, what time of day you take it, all of those things. Diabetics, the same thing. Sometimes it's mental, emotional. Sometimes it's alcohol, drugs. Sometimes if someone is heavy, all of those health and well-being play into it. I mean, and see, with women, because our stuff is internal, it's a little easier. But for a man, it's that blood flowing. And if something is keeping the blood from flowing the way it's supposed to, that's a problem. Now, there are ways around that. I'm hoping soon to have one of the sex toys people to come for my podcast, because there are sex toys that can help in those situations.
Okay.
Okay,
Wow.
so all those things had to do with them keeping it up, or for them being able to reach that point.
Well, you see, if it's not up, the blood isn't flowing. If the blood isn't
I'm
flowing,
I'm talking about when it's up. When it's up. That's what I'm
well,
talking
but
about. When
again, if you think about, once you can get a man to hold an erection for a bit, sometimes they have what is it, hormonal issues that are going on with them that could also keep them. So they have these. If you go to a urologist, there are things that they can prescribe for the men that they can use. But the whole idea is the woman has to be aware that this is something he wants to do and for some reason cannot do. And so there needs to be a conversation so that maybe, in a situation you say, I'll go to the doctor with you. He may not want that right away. He may want to have that private conversation with the doctor by himself. If you know about toys, you can suggest toys. You can suggest position changes. You can change how you may be stimulating him. I mean, all of that is part of this conversation that has to take place. Much like if you, as a woman, you're dry, you know that if you're dry, it's not going to feel good, and he's going to wonder, well, what's wrong? So that's another kind of conversation. Why would you, healthy as you are, why would you be dry? What else is going on with you, whether it's a medication or whatever? And so you say, well, here's this jelly. They have, you go in even Publix now, you go down those aisles and they've got everything you could ever want, stuff that warms you, stuff that does all this stuff. And so you don't have to suffer. If you're willing to look, you'll find something, and you could say to him, you know what, last time it was a little painful. And so maybe if you use some of this, because again, you're in a conversation with somebody. Or he may wind up saying to you, I noticed that the friction was different. So I'm going to try, I'm going to use this. That's a conversation.
Yeah.
Two people, they care about each other. They want to get to the same place. together.
So Marcus shared a personal experience of his. He said, I used to get tired during sex in my prime. It turned out I had an iron deficiency anemia. My doctor
Mm-hmm.
had me take iron pills and eat green leafy vegetables, etc. Then I no longer had that
No
issue.
longer. Yeah. See, and
So,
doctors can tell you that. But if you are proud and you don't go, then you begin to be angry. And so maybe you drink more or do something else more, or you say, you know what, maybe it's her. I need to go walk down the street, because you're not really comfortable with yourself and honest with yourself to say, I really care about this person and I want the right things, and my body's not doing what it usually does. That doesn't mean something wrong with you, but it means that, like the gentleman said, change in diet or change in medication. Um, Sometimes, we all know women go through menopause. So do men. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about the lessening of testosterone that happens with men, which is often one of the reasons why it takes a bit more to get them up there, and it takes more for all of those different things to happen. But if we're not talking, if we're not understanding where we are in life,
mm-hmm,
and so that's the journey of it. That's the
mm-hmm,
wonderfulness of the communication, because if you're together and you're 25 and you hope you're going to be together at 50, menopause is in there. If you're together at 50 and you want to be together till 70, then the aging issues are in there. If you get to be 75, 90 and you still want to do,
mm-hmm.
there are
Yeah.
all sorts of positions and toys and all kinds of things that you can do,
Okay.
if you want to.
So there's a question about your thoughts on Yoni steam. You have any thoughts on
I
that?
don't know. Is that what what they use to clean women?
Yes.
I think I read that on Facebook.
Okay. All right. So not familiar with that, Dr. Robinson.
No. If it's what I think it is,
It is.
it is what
Yes.
I think it is.
It's a
And I
steaming
think that, see,
herbs
but
and
to me, this goes back to cultures that say a woman who is menstruating is dirty, is not clean. We have made the blood that comes from our body a negative thing. The body is made up in such a way that it cleans itself. If you
Itself.
if you're healthy and you take care of you, your body is doing what it needs to do. I worry, I don't know enough about it to really say strongly, but I worry about these things. Women have hurt themselves feeling like they had to use all different kind of things to squirt up there that
mm,
dried them up, that hurt the bacteria that's supposed to be there. If they used to laugh and talk about smelling like fish.
mhm,
If you smell like fish, something is wrong. Take a good shower. If that doesn't take care of it, go see your doctor, because there may be something internal that's going on.
mhm.
You see?
Okay. So Marcus had a final comment. He said another reason men can't keep it up is because of sexual insecurities, fears, and anxiety, which I
Yes.
think speaks to that conversation piece and how important it is to have that
Mm-hmm.
dialogue. So, both parties know what's going on, and hopefully your mate will support you in that, in terms of, so
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to feel insecure or fearful, or like
Mm-hmm.
you're less than or inadequate. So yeah.
Because sometimes you may want to introduce something and your person may say, where'd you get that from? Where you been?
Mm,
Well, I like to read and I talk to people, and I'm always looking to find out new things. That's where I've been,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Oh my gosh, I can't get these comments up. All right. So any other thoughts around any of what we talked about tonight, about uh, tantra, about sexting, and about Boy, we covered orgasm as well as self pleasure. So,
Hmm.
any other closing
I
remarks?
just think love yourself. Love yourself, trust yourself. And if you're going to engage with someone, have it be someone you trust and take your time to find out if you trust them and why. And then maybe start with the tantra. Sometimes people say, I got to know what I'm working with, and they jump in right away, and then maybe it doesn't go well, or maybe it does. But if you start out with something that's focused on understanding and good communication and knowing one another, then that's a good, safe place to start. And then you could try to build on that. Because I'm telling you, if you do it right, that spiritual part, there's nothing like it.
I do have something to ask you about because you had mentioned that you wanted to get into it, and I don't want you to leave and think I didn't have a chance to get into it. But you had mentioned about as we age and we have aches and we have pains, and there are ways to, I guess, get around that where you can still have a pleasurable experience. Is that something that you quickly could touch on?
Well, yes. I mean, one of the things has to do with positions. If, people have knee replacements and they have bad knees from athletics or some other injury or something, or, lower back pain, it's almost like in the book. Well, no, I don't want to do that. If you talk to each other about positions, use of pillows, sometimes lying down instead of the missionary position where, one or the other of you is on top, that may hurt the knees, hurt the back. So you could lie down and be supported. Use pillows to support yourself so that you can get to a place of comfort for both of you. And then you take it from there, because if the passion is there, you'll make it work. But you have to be honest with yourself that he could say to you, I can't get on my knees like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you're going to say, baby, when you do it like that, it kills my back. Okay, well, he doesn't want to kill your back and you don't want to hurt his knees, or vice versa, because we get knees issues too. You talk about that and you work it out. You use the pillows, or again, the lying down is probably one of the best situations you can do. Sometimes for people, it's standing up.
Sometimes.
You
So
know,
Janelle had a comment that I thought was really great. She said, "Thank you all for giving this a platform. My parents didn't talk about things related to sex. Friends in my childhood gave me inaccurate information. It's just been in the last 5 years that I have started to learn some things." So,
That's good, Dr. Robinson. Thank you.
mhm.
I think,
thank you.
and that's
Yes.
what I was saying early, to her point, that a lot of us have been misguided, misinformed, or left in the dark when it comes to that, because that's just not something that many of our parents and friends have, been open to talking about. And even at our
Mhm.
age, and even in the 40s, there's still so much out there that we don't know, and in
Mhm.
conversation, we're afraid to discuss because people will look at that and say that it's, oh, y'all talking about that? That's a bad thing. When someone even mentioned earlier that the book Songs of Solomon talks about that and it's very erotic. So thank you, Dr. Robinson.
And thank you,
Mhm.
Dr. Monica, for your willingness to share. Dr. Janelle said, coming from a Christian background, I definitely understand the push to celibacy. However, I think there has to be a balance in pushing celibacy and at the same time educating and taking away the stigmas of sex, so our experiences will be better than when we are in a
When we,
and or a committed relationship.
amen. She's right.
Absolutely agree.
She's
So let's
right. And
figure
I
all.
would say for 40s, 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s, keep it going. Keep it going.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Keep
the
it.
STD rate is high in the I guess what age it is, the 60s and 70s or
But you know why? Because they don't know. They think, well, I can't get pregnant, so I don't have to worry. That's the reason. They
yeah.
don't know these other ways to get it because they're thinking in terms of pregnancy. Well, mama, you're not going to get pregnant, so we don't have to.
Mm.
But that tells me they still getting it on.
Which is what we want. Trust me. Listen, I'm old, and I'm telling you, as long as you want to, it's there for you.
Okay. Y'all
Trust
heard
me.
it.
Oh,
Y'all heard it from Dr. Monica. All right. Well, I think at least what I've gotten from this, again, is just the importance of communicating
Mm-hmm.
and with someone that you trust and that trust you and that you can honor and, just have a good relationship with. So, I you know, I think this is great. I hope folks got something from it. I hope that people who watch the replay get something from it. And, we're just really glad that you came. You're our first female author. So, yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well, look, can I add to what Nicole said? Because that's definitely a ditto. But I also want to say to our viewers, based on what Dr. Monica has shared, and I'm adding my own twist. So you can't say that my back hurt, my knees hurt, I got all these issues because she has given you some options.
She has. She has. All right. So Janelle is asking about where can we find your book and what the name of it is. So I'm putting the name in the chat, but Dr. Monica, you can tell them where they can find your book.
They can come to me, purepleasureerotica@gmail.com.
Okay. Now
You
put
don't have a copy of your book to flash up to show them?
I do.
Marcus has a question too, so I'm gonna put that up in just a minute. All right, at gmail.com, I think she said.
Oh, excuse me.
All right. So that's that. All right. So Marcus said, I have a question. I was in a relationship and my lady had a temporary issue where both her knees were swollen and painful. Although I wanted sex, I didn't feel comfortable because she was in so much pain. I held her and we went to sleep. She later said she felt rejected because I didn't have sex with her. What happened in this situation?
Y'all didn't communicate. It sounds like you didn't say to her, I want some.
Mhm.
What can we do to make it more comfortable for you since both of your knees are swollen?
Right. All
Can
right.
you
So
see
Dr.
it?
Yeah, she
Uh-huh.
put the book up, purepleasureerotica@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Okay.
yes. And if they want, I can autograph.
Okay.
The other thing I would say is I have 11 podcasts at the Exquisite Podcast Radio Network, and
Mhm.
I've gone into detail about some of these things. So, and in most of my podcasts, I do samples of my reading from the book.
She does some readings from her book and it's hot.
Nice. How
Hot.
much is the book?
It's $20.
Okay.
All right.
Dr. Monica, did you hear the comment that Nicole put up from Marcus Boston on that? Because I'm sure he didn't want Joe Keetra to get Joe Keetra's advice. He wanted your advice.
I was in a relationship and my lady had a temper. Both her knees were swollen and painful. Okay, so again, this is about communication. If
Joe Keetra, you
you
got it, girl.
That's why I
you
just
know
wanted her to
each
say it,
other,
because I just wanted validation.
if you know each other, and you can say, um, "I was hoping that we could, have sex or make love or whatever the words are that you use," but I'm concerned because I know you're in pain. Sex helps with pain.
Yes,
Trust
it
me.
does.
And so, and I can, it's one of these things that I used to, when I was in high school, I got in trouble because we were in the marriage class and the teacher was saying, sex is to make babies. And I was repeating what my then boyfriend was telling me that, well, but it helps with a cold and it helps if you don't feel good and it helps if you have a headache. And she said, you're going to hell. And I thought, I didn't do anything. And she said, for the thoughts you're thinking.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, well, that's not right. And so I started at a very early age to say, what they're saying doesn't make sense. I mean, and so when I got into a situation when I was finally sexually active, it was like, oh, wow, it really does help with a headache and it does help with these different things. And so if you're concerned about your person, just say, it's like women who have abdominal surgery and the doctor says 6 to 8 weeks, no sex. Trust me, at 4 weeks, your guy is going to be saying, Mama, please. So if you're of a mind, you say, okay, we'll try. Because you can, if it's going to really hurt or you're going to get scared, this is someone that you trust, that person will stop. But you could also find that you're okay. You take it easy, you go slow. It may not be the bit bam like it always is, but it can work.
Right.
That's it. You make adjustments. It's your body. Your body is this wonderful thing that's amazing. And you have this person that you're sharing with, and they have this wonderful body too. And if you're doing these kinds of things, that's where the spiritual part comes in. And you can have an orgasm that is kind of like taking you to church.
It definitely takes you somewhere.
Well, it can take you there because it'll be that, Okay.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, again, thank you, Dr. Monica.
Thank you, guys.
Folks, if y'all are interested in connecting with her, that's the name of the book. And this is her email address. Janelle wanted to know if you had a website.
I'm working on one.
Okay. So working on the website. All right. Very good. Well, we want to thank our viewers for your contribution to this conversation tonight. We know that it was spicy, a little bit different from what we normally do, but meaningful nonetheless, and something that we think was necessary. Any closing remarks, Nick or Joketra?
Well, again, thank you, Dr. Monica. And I definitely think it's something that we need to talk about and hear more. So thank you so much for that. I think we need to just get more comfortable with talking about it and sharing and learning, because obviously there is so much that's out there for us to learn. So thank you for educating us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
Nick, you okay?
I thank you, Dr. Monica. Very, very interesting conversation. I think it's definitely needed to be had. I think that, like I said, we heard a lot of being suppressed, people, ideas of sexuality being stifled. And so it's time to have that open communication. So I really appreciate you bringing it to the forefront. We was able to have this dialogue because I think it helped a lot of people tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Don't forget to, what do I want to say? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Single in the City Where Kings Meet Queens. All of our videos, well, not all of them, but the ones that we've been doing since June are on the YouTube channel. And check out our Facebook page. Also, if you don't follow us on Facebook, please do. Sometimes we have, outside of the live broadcast, some interesting discussions. So we thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks for more Single in the City where Kings meet Queens.
Yes, I hope that Marcus, can you be ready?
All right. We'll see y'all next time. Good
Thank
night.
you.